Welcome back to the Deep Dive. I hope you're sitting down, comfortable, maybe get a beverage, because today we are strapping in for what I can only describe as the absolute emotional and corporate whiplash of the week.
Whiplash is the only word for it. It really, really has been a roller coaster.
Seriously, if you are anywhere near the creative industry, specifically animation, digital art, illustration, or even if you just, casually follow tech news in the stock market, you probably felt the tremors over the last few days.
Oh, yeah.
It has been absolute chaos, just total pandemonium surrounding Adobe Animate.
It really has. It's one of those stories that seems niche at first glance. You think, oh, some software got a status update. But when you actually peel back the layers, it exposes the entire nervous system of the digital creative economy.
That's a great way to put it.
It touches on everything from corporate greed to the fragility of our own digital history. And for those who might not know, or who might be scratching their heads saying Adobe Animate, never heard of it, we are talking about the modern incarnation of Flash.
Right, Flash.
Yeah.
And hearing that name alone just floods my brain with nostalgia. We are talking about the thing that basically built the internet in the early 2000s.
They're really good.
Homestar Runner, Newgrounds, all those stick figure fighting games we used to play in the computer lab when the teacher wasn't looking. That is the DNA we are talking about here.
Exactly. That is the lineage, bedrock of the interactive web. So we are talking about a piece of software, massive legacy. And the narrative arc we're looking at today is, well, it's dramatic.
It's got everything.
It does. It's got corporate betrayal, a sudden stock market panic, a furious internet mob, and then this desperate flailing U-turn by a tech giant.
That sounds like a movie script, or maybe disaster movie.
It feels a lot like one. It starts with Adobe effectively announcing the end of the software. Then the internet just explodes in absolute. Stocks start dipping, which is a key detail we will absolutely get. And then Adobe immediately issues a very, very carefully worded clarification.
It was a U-turn so fast, it probably left skid marks on the pavement outside their headquarters. I mean, 1 minute the software is dead, the next minute they're saying, whoa, just kidding, a creative misinterpretation.
A miscommunication, yes.
But the core question we are tackling today is, did they actually fix the problem? Or is this just lip service? Is this just damage control to stop the stock from bleeding out?
That is the multi-billion-dollar question, isn't it? Because the stakes here are incredibly high. This isn't just about a tool people use to draw cartoons. It is about the livelihood of thousands of animators, the preservation of 20 years of internet history, and this really unsettling realization about the fragility of digital ownership.
Right.
It raises the question, do you control your work, or does a board of directors in San Jose control it?
It really makes you think, doesn't it? Like, do we actually own anything in this digital age?
Yeah.
But before we spiral into an existential crisis, which, don't worry, we definitely will later, I promise.
We're going there.
Let's talk about where we are getting this info. We are diving deep into a fantastic analysis from Clownfish TV, specifically hosted by Neon and Geeky Sparkles.
Yes, and they really did a phenomenal job gathering the receipts on this one. I mean, they broke down this whole saga, pulling in industry reactions, Reddit threads, articles from Cartoon Brew. They really covered the waterfront.
And what I love about this source is the vibe. They aren't just reading a corporate press release back to you. They are skeptical, they are frustrated, and frankly, they seem deeply concerned for the future of creative independence. They are not buying the PR spin for a single second.
Not even a little bit. And that skepticism is our guiding light today. We aren't going to take Adobe's word for it. We're going to look at what's actually happening under the hood.
So our mission today is to unpack three main things. First, what maintenance mode actually means, especially when you were paying a monthly subscription for it.
Right. The value proposition there.
Second, we are going to look at this trust deficit that seems to be widening into a chasm between creatives and these mega corporations.
And third, we are going to look at the solution, because the source brings up some really radical ideas, ranging from switching software all the way to a theoretical industry-led open source revolution.
Love a good revolution. Okay, let's unpack this. Section 1, the bomb drop. Take us back to the start of this mess. What actually happened to kick this all off?
So picture this. It's a normal week. Animators are working, studios are churning out content, freelancers are hitting deadlines, and then it begins with an email.
Just an email.
Adobe sends out a communication to its users, specifically enterprise and team users at first. That implies, in no uncertain terms, that Adobe Animate is being continued.
And not just, hey, in 5 years we might wrap this up. It was immediate, right? Like, pack your bags immediate.
It was startlingly immediate. The specific threat was that users had less than a month before support. Imagine getting that email about the primary tool you use to do your job.
That gives me anxiety just thinking about it. It's like, hey, the hammer you use to build houses, it disappears in 30 days. Good luck with the roof.
It's essentially that, yes. But the real kicker, the thing that sent everyone into a full-blown panic, was the hard date. The original communication laid out a strict, non-negotiable timeline: 2027 for individual users and 2029 for corporate or enterprise users to access their files.
Hey, hold on. I want to make sure I understand this clearly. To access their file. So after 2027 or 2029, what? Poof.
Gone. The implication was that after those dates, the software simply wouldn't work. It wouldn't launch. You wouldn't be able to open your projects. Years of your work would become full.
That is terrifying. Absolutely terrifying. Imagine being a studio with 10 years of archives. You have characters, backgrounds, assets you reuse.
Your entire library.
Or imagine being a freelancer with your entire portfolio in this format, and you are being told, hey, put a date in your calendar, because that's the day your work disappears. It's an expiration date on your career history.
Precise. The immediate impact was panic. Absolute, unadulterated. We are talking about studios and freelancers realizing that years of files were potentially becoming inaccessible. It's an archival nightmare.
It really is.
You have to understand, in animation, assets are reused constantly. You don't redraw the main character from scratch in every episode. You pull them from the library. You have a walk cycle. You have different expressions. Adobe was threatening to burn the library.
So naturally, the internet took it well, right? Everyone was calm, collected, and understanding.
Oh, absolutely not. The reaction was immediate and it was hostile. Social media was on fire. Twitter, Blue Sky, Reddit. It was all ablaze. Creatives were, as the source puts it, taking them to task. It was a pylon of epic proportions.
As it should have been.
But here's where it gets really interesting. It wasn't just angry tweets. There was a financial angle that Clownfish TV pointed out, which I think a lot of mainstream outlets missed entirely.
Money talk. What was happening with the money?
Well, the source notes that Adobe stock was already dropping like crazy even before this specific email went viral. Now, this is part of a bigger picture. There is a lot of fear right now in the market that the AI bubble is bursting.
Ah, okay.
The source references the recent spat between NVIDIA and OpenAI, suggesting that investors are getting jittery about AI and these software-as-a-service companies in general.
So Adobe is already on shaky ground with investors. They are watching the tech sector take a hit, and then in the middle of that, they decide to, light a match and throw it on their core user base.
Exactly. It was the perfect storm. They alienated the creatives again right when the market was already looking for a reason to sell. It was terrible timing, and Adobe saw that. They watched the ticker, they saw the stock hit, they saw the rage trending on Twitter, and within hours, Neon mentions it was literally less than a day, maybe an hour or two after their video went up, Adobe released a correction.
The famous clarification.
Right. Their carefully worded clarification. They claimed they are not discontinuing Animate. The quote was, "We are going to go into maintenance." And the big change, the headline grabber, was that they removed those hard end dates. So no more 2027 or 2029 deadline.
Okay, so on the surface, that sounds like a fix. We heard you. We're not killing it. You can keep using it. Everyone goes home happy.
Well, that's what they want you to think. That is the PR goal. But the source, Neon and Geeky Sparkles, they aren't buying it for a second. They call it a U-turn, but they argue that nothing actually changed.
How can nothing have changed if the dates are gone? That seems like a pretty big change.
Think of it this way. The source uses a really funny but incredibly accurate analogy. They call it the green grass analogy.
Lay it on me. I love a good analogy.
Imagine someone tells you the grass is green, and for some reason the world gets really mad about that. Everyone starts screaming. So the person apologizes and says, "So sorry, we miscommunicated. What we meant to say is the grass is blue and yellow."
Oh, hold on a second. Blue and yellow mixed together make green.
Exactly. It is a distinction without a difference. The reality is that maintenance mode remains the started. Sure, they took away the scary expiration date, but the software is still effectively dead-ended. They aren't developing it. They aren't adding features. It's on life support.
So the only thing that's changed is that they're not telling you when they're pulling the plug.
Precisely. The patient is still terminal. They just took the countdown clock off the wall.
So the patient isn't being unplugged today, but the doctor has left the building, turned off the lights, and locked the door on the way.
That is a very, very accurate way to put it. And that leads us directly into the technical reality of what maintenance mode actually means. Because I think a lot of people hear that and think, oh, well, if it works today, it'll work tomorrow. As long as it's secure, I'm fine.
Right. I mean, I still use a blender from 10 years ago. It still blends. Why is software different? If I have the program on my computer, why does it matter if Adobe updates it with new features? I'm happy with what it has.
Because your Blender doesn't rely on an operating system that fundamentally changes This is what the source calls zombie software problem. Neon argues that even without an expiration date, The software will eventually break. It's inevitable.
Mm.
Software doesn't exist in a vacuum. It lives inside a complex ecosystem. Windows, macOS, graphics drivers, security protocols, all of those things are constantly being updated by other companies.
Oh, I see. So when Windows 12 comes out or whatever the next big update is.
Exactly. Or when NVIDIA updates their graphics card drivers to support a new kind of rendering. Or when Apple changes their chip architecture again from silicon to whatever comes next.
Yeah.
If the operating system moves forward and the software is standing still in maintenance mode, eventually a gap opens up. Code dependencies break. Libraries become obsolete.
And one day you just,
Yeah.
you click the icon and nothing happens.
Exactly. Or the screen flickers. Or it crashes every time you try to save. The software rots from the outside in because the world it lives in has changed around it.
It's like trying to run a PlayStation 1 game on a smart toaster.
Yeah.
Eventually, the parts just don't talk to each other anymore.
And the source gives a really vivid, almost chilling example of this from their own life. They talk about the vintage basement scenario. Neon mentions working at a company, some sort of corporate job that dealt with government information. And they had to keep these old DOS machines or Commodores in the basement.
Wait, like physically keep old dusty computers just to run old software?
Yes. Think about the logistics of that.
Yeah.
A specific room, probably cold, probably dusty. You have these beige boxes from the 1990s sitting in a corner because the software they needed to access historical data was deprecated. It wouldn't run on modern Windows. It wouldn't run on XP. So to access those essential files, they had to step into a time machine.
Wow.
They had to keep a computer frozen in time, never connected to the internet, never updated, just to keep that one piece of software alive.
That is wild. And that's the future for Animate users. They'll have to keep a 2024-era laptop in a closet somewhere, never updating it, just to open their old project.
That is the risk. That's the very real possibility. The irony here is that Adobe says your files. But if the environment around the files changes and the software to open them breaks, they aren't safe. You might technically have the file, but it's a digital brick.
A paperweight.
Exactly. If you need a Windows 10 computer disconnected from the internet just to open your portfolio in the year 2030, that is a huge, huge problem.
Man, that is a bleak picture. And it gets even worse when you remember, you are paying for this. You are paying a monthly subscription for the privilege of using this zombie software.
That is the subscription paradox. And this is where the source really gets heated, and I think rightfully so. Adobe Animate is part of the Creative Cloud subscription.
Which isn't cheap. We are talking hundreds of dollars a year for the full suite.
No, it is not. And the critique here is what's called rent. Users are being asked to continue paying a monthly fee, potentially forever, to access software that is no longer...
It breaks the whole model.
It does. It's like paying full price for a loaf of bread that's already molded. Or, as the source compares it, paying full price for clearance items that are about to expire. The value isn't there.
Yeah, usually when something goes into maintenance mode or clearance, you expect a discount. Hey, this is the old model, 50% off.
Exactly. The source suggests it should be a perpetual license, buy it once, keep it forever, or at the very least, deeply discounted, half price, quarter price, something to acknowledge the diminished value.
Because you're not getting any R&D, you're not getting new features. You're just paying to keep the lights on for a piece of software they've abandoned.
And the community response on Reddit, which the source quotes, sums it up perfect. Why does a subscription exist for something Adobe is abandoned? It's a fundamental question.
It feels like they are trying to have their cake and eat it too. They want to stop spending money on developing the software, so they cut the costs on their end, but they want to keep collecting the full subscription price from the users.
That is the definition of a cash cow. Or, to use the more aggressive term from the source, they are treating their users like pay pigs.
Oof, hey pigs. That is evocative. But I can see why people feel that way. It really speaks to the broken trust, doesn't it? This isn't just about money. It feels personal.
It does. And in Section 3, we really need to talk about this abusive relationship dynamic that's developed. The source describes Adobe as having pissed off their core audience for the 15th time this year.
It does feel like there's a new controversy every other week with them. In terms of service updates, AI scraping fears, now this. It's a pattern.
It is a pattern. There is a history here. The source points out that Adobe used to wine and dine creative. Back in the day, they courted artists. They were the champions of the creative class. If you were a designer, Adobe was your partner.
They're the cool company.
They were now. They are viewed as an antagonist, a necessary evil at best, and a corporate overlord at worst.
It's like the partner who was super sweet when you started dating. But now that you've moved in together, they stop doing the dishes and start demanding rent for the couch.
And the creatives feel trapped. They feel like they can't. There's a heartbreaking example mentioned in the source of a YouTube animator. She posted a video, apparently in tears, saying she felt her career was effectively over because she only knew Flash.
Oh, that's awful.
That was her tool. That was her medium. She had spent a decade mastering it, and she didn't know how to use anything else.
That is so scary. To tie your entire livelihood to one tool and then have the company that owns that tool basically say, man, we're bored of this now. It really highlights the vulnerability of the modern creator.
The lesson the source draws from this is crucial, and it's advice for everyone listening, not just animators. Never get comfortable and put your eggs in multiple baskets.
Diversify your skill set.
You have to. You cannot rely on a single corporate entity to safeguard your career. You have to be adaptable. You have to be learning the next thing just in case.
But why are they doing that? Why alienate the people who made them famous? The source has a theory about AI, right? This is the pivot.
They do. The theory is that Adobe is trying to pivot into being an AI. They are trying to leave traditional creative tools behind because that's not where the hype is anymore. That's not what gets investors excited. The source says they are chasing the AI chuck.
The AI chuck wagon. I love that image. Everyone is just running after the shiny new toy, hoping to get a scrap of venture capital funding.
But the critique is that they're trying to run before they can crawl. The source uses this fantastic metaphor of crawling versus running. Adobe and the industry at large is diving headfirst into AI, trying to replace human work, but the tech isn't fully there yet.
It's not. It's inconsistent.
It's a bubble. It's inconsistent. It's often ethically dubious, but they're chasing it anyway.
It's like they're trying to force a transition that nobody asked for. Here, use this AI generator. And the user is like, but I just want to draw a circle with the pen tool. And they're saying, no, ask the AI to generate a circle for you.
And in doing so, they are treating their legacy software, the stuff that actually works, the stuff people actually use to make a living, as a vestigial tail.
A vestigial tail,
Sure.
like something that's just left over from evolution, but doesn't serve a real purpose anymore.
Exactly. To the board of directors, to the investors, Animate isn't a core product. It's a leftover part of what the company used to be. They want to be NVIDIA. They want to be open. They don't want to be the company that makes drawing tools for cartoons.
That's old tech to them.
It's not sexy. It's not going to get you a 20% stock bump in one quarter.
Right.
And so they neglect it.
That is so frustrating because for the users, that vestigial tail is their whole life. That's how they feed their families. It's not a tail, it's their hands.
And this connects to the broader corporate life cycle. The source makes a really astute observation about how companies evolve. It's a pattern we see everywhere, not just with Adobe.
What's the pattern?
Stage 1. Private or family company. At this stage, they care about the product, they care about the consumer, they have passion, they want to build the best thing possible.
Right. The founders are involved, they're in the trenches, they want to make something cool.
Then comes stage 2, public corporate. Now, you answer to the board and the investors, and the goal shifts, subtly at first and then dramatic. It's no longer make the best product. It is feed the never-ending profit beast.
Feed the beast, and the beast is always hungry.
It's insatiable. And how do you feed recurring revenue? Subscriptions for everything. The source compares it to paying a subscription to use the heated seats in your car, a feature that is physically in the car you bought.
Oh, don't get me started on that. Or the smart fridges that show you ads unless you pay a monthly fee.
It is the exact same. You buy a fridge, but you have to pay a fee or opt out of ads properly. They want you paying forever. They want the stock price up. Product quality, user satisfaction, that's all second. If they can extract value without adding value, they will.
And Adobe Animate in maintenance mode with a full subscription fee is the ultimate example, extracting value without adding any.
It is the textbook definition. It is pure rent-seeking behavior.
It's bleak, but it explains so much. So what happened when they tried to pull the plug? The source mentioned Smiling Friend. I love that show. It's on Adult Swim, right?
Yes, and this is a great example of the industry scramble that likely happened behind. Smiling Friends is a massive hit on Adult Swim, a huge show, and it is animated using Adobe Animate.
I had no idea.
The source speculates, and it is speculation, but it makes perfect sense, that studios like the one behind Smiling Friends, and probably many others, saw that email and immediately got on the phone with their lawyers and their Adobe corporate reps.
Oh, I can imagine. Hey, we have a multi-million-dollar show in production, and you're telling us our file is going to self-destruct. See you in court.
Exactly that. Or simply, we will never buy another Adobe product again for any of our 500 workstations. That kind of institutional pressure from big clients is what forces a walkback, not necessarily the outcry from individual freelancers, as important as that is.
So they calmed down the big fish.
They did. But the source insists this is just pillow talk.
Pillow talk. What do they mean by that?
It's just sweet nothings to calm you down. It's what you say to make the other person feel better so they stop being angry, but you don't actually mean it. The removal of the dates is just to lower the temperature, to stop the lawsuits, to keep people paying the subscription.
But the end is still coming.
The end is still coming. They haven't recommitted to the software. They've just quieted the mob for now.
So if you can't trust Adobe, where do you go? The source mentions some competitors capitalizing on this chaos.
It's a shark tank out there. As soon as Adobe stumbled, the competitors smelled blood in the water. The source points out Moho as one that came up. They started offering a $100 discount on a lifetime license, specifically to lure angry Adobe.
See, that's smart marketing.
Yeah.
Mad at your ex, come date us, we're cheaper, we won't ghost you.
And they're specifically advertising a lifetime license, which is the holy grail right now for these. You pay one, you own it, it can't be taken away. Then there is Toon Boom.
Right, I've heard of them.
That's the industry standard for high-end animation, but the source notes it is very, very expensive and also subscription-based. So you might be jumping from the frying pan into the fire there.
And what about Affinity? I hear about them a lot as a Photoshop alternative. They've always been the champions of the one-time purchase.
Affinity was the darling for a long time, one-time purchase, great software, really pro-consumer. But the source notes, they were recently bought by Canva.
Ah, and Canva is
a subscription giant. They are the definition of a modern software as a service company. So the fear is that Affinity will eventually go the same route. It's that corporate life cycle again. It gets bought by a bigger public company, and then the enshittification.
Shittificate. That really is the word of the decade, isn't it? Mm-hmm. So is there any hope? Or are we just doomed to bounce between companies until they all sell out and put us on a subscription plan?
Well, this is where the source proposes something radical. And they jokingly call it a socialist idea, but they mean it seriously as a survival strategy for the industry. They call it the consortium idea.
Tell me about this. It sounds interesting.
The concept is that animation studios, who are usually fierce competitors, fighting for the same contracts, the same talent, should band together. Instead of paying millions of dollars a year to Adobe or Toon Boom, they pool that money to fund an open source alternative.
Oh, interesting. So they would build their own tools for the industry, by the industry.
They jokingly call it Neon in the video after the host. But the idea is you fund a nonprofit foundation to develop and maintain a professional-grade animation tool that belongs to everyone, to the community.
What are the benefits of that? I mean, it sounds great on paper.
The benefits are huge. No corporate overlords to kill the software on a whim. No perpetual rent or sudden subscription hike. It provides stability and security for the entire... If you own the code, nobody can take it away from you.
It sounds perfect. It sounds like the solution to everything we've been talking about. So why hasn't it happened?
Because, as the source admits, it is easier said than done. Studios compete. Getting Disney and Warner Bros. And Netflix and a dozen independent studios to all agree on a feature set and a funding model, it's a logistical nightmare.
It would be.
But the source argues it might be an existential crisis now. This Adobe situation might be the wake-up call. If the tools of the trade are disappearing, cooperation might be the only way to survive.
It's like in a zombie movie where the rival gangs have to team up because the zombies are at the gate. Adobe is the zombie horde in this metaphor.
Or perhaps the landlord kicking everyone out of the building. But yes, the pressure is there. It's a question of whether the pain of the status quo is greater than the pain of cooperating with your rival.
So we've covered the technical death, the broken trust, the alternatives, this open source dream.
Yeah.
What is the final verdict from the source? What's the takeaway for the animator listening right now?
The final warning is chilling, and it's direct, they say. The starting gun has been fired.
That sounds ominous.
It is. The advice is, even though the dates are gone, even though Adobe said, just kidding, do not believe them, the trust is broken. You cannot trust Adobe with your files or your career long term.
So what do you do?
Use this maintenance mode period to migrate your files now. Don't wait.
Treat it like a grace period you weren't supposed to get.
Exact. The house is on fire. Adobe just told you they aren't going to lock the doors for a few more years, but the fire is still burning in the basement. Get your stuff and get out. If you stay and get burned later, the source says, very bluntly, it's on you.
That's on you. Harsh but fair. If someone shows you who they are, believe them the first time.
Precise. Adobe blinked this time because they got caught and their stock took it. But they didn't really change direction. They're still pivoting to AI. They're still moving away from legacy creed. The writing is on the wall in giant flashing neon letters.
It really highlights the fundamental value imbalance of these subscription models. We are paying premium prices for zombie product, just hoping they don't fall apart.
It's a massive wake-up call for the entire creative industry. Creators are realizing they need to own theirs rather than rent. Because if you rent your hammer, the landlord can take it back right when you are in the middle of the house.
That is a great way to put it. It's about control.
It's all about control. And this brings us to a provocative thought to leave you, the listener, with. We talk a lot about owning our art, talk about copyright, intellectual property, all of that. But reflect on the nature of digital ownership.
Go on.
If the software required to open your life's work is rent, do you ever actually own your art?
Whoa, that's...
Think about it. If I write a novel, but the only way to read it is through a special pair of glasses that I have to rent from a company, and that company company might discontinue those glasses at any moment. Is the novel really mine? Or is it just being held hostage by the platform?
That is deeply unsettling. It makes you want to go print everything out on paper and store it in a physical vault somewhere.
It definitely makes you reconsider the convenience of the cloud and subscription service, doesn't it? It makes you think about formats, about backups, about who really holds.
Absolutely. So, listener, here is your homework from this deep dive. Check your subscriptions. Are you paying for a zombie? Are you renting access to your own work? And seriously, back up your files. Maybe look into an open format if you can.
And maybe keep an eye on those open source alternatives. You might need them sooner than you think.
The starting gun has been fired. Don't be the last one at the starting line. Thanks for diving deep with us today. We'll catch you in the next one.
Stay creative and stay safe out there.